end zone, underthrown, the touchdown, Trey Tucker. To the end zone it goes. Caught! Touchdown, Armon Benz.
Bearcat Blitz on the Believe Network. I'm your host, Russ Eltman of Cincinnati Bearcats on SI, joined very shortly by my co-host, Neil Meyer from the front office news.com. Check us out at both of those sites as we go through the most exciting Cincinnati Bearcats football season in the last few years. Definitely the most exciting of the Scott Satterfield era as the Bearcats moved to 4-0 in Big 12 play, 6-1 overall, bowl eligible for the first time since the 2022 season, and tied with BYU atop the Big 12 standings after Arizona State's upset over number 7 Texas Tech on Saturday. A big weekend in the Big 12 and a big day for the Bearcats with a 49-17 win on the road against Oklahoma State, returning the favor after the Cowboys drubbed them at home in Stillwater a couple years ago. Came back in and beat the interim coach-led Cowboys pretty handily with a really electric, historic 100-yard touchdown, capping things off with the big plays atop the really fun moments for Cincinnati in this game against Oklahoma State. Matthew McDoom with that 100-yard interception return for a touchdown. So much to get to on this show, plus a scrimmage for the Cincinnati Bearcats basketball team, Wes Miller's squad. He said, temper your expectations early last week, but Cincinnati looked really good, really fluid on offense on the road against what many consider one of the top 10, the top 15 teams in the country in Michigan on Friday night with a 100-98 exhibition win. Big exhibition quotes on that one, as Cincinnati's still a couple weeks before they start the regular season when games really count against Western Carolina in the beginning of November. A ton to get to on this episode of Bearcat Blitz. And we are, of course, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook, where they have the just flurry of boosts every single weekend, it seems, for college football. And the Bearcats have a line set right now for their upcoming game against Baylor on Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern inside the friendly confines of Nippert Stadium. The number 24 ranked Bearcats primed to move up at some points a little bit after we record this episode of Bearcat Blitz in the AP poll. Cincinnati 4.5-point favorites over Baylor with a point total set at 66.5, with the offenses heating up in terms of difficulty. We're going to get to that in this episode of Bearcat Blitz right here on the Believe Network, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook. Head there to make your play on the Bearcats. Always one of the first sports books to get the lines out. And I am watching right now, Neil, get the Neil Meyer in just a second. The line just moved to from 4.5 to 5.5 as we speak. I've actually never seen that happen on a sports book right in front of my face. The line moved in this exact moment. So FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook, 5.5 points. Cincinnati favored by now at home. We'll get to all of the great stuff across this weekend on this episode of Bearcat Blitz after these quick messages. Neil, bring you in now, my man. We watched Cincinnati get bowl eligible last night for the first time as we record this on Sunday morning in Cincinnati. 49-17 win for the Bearcats over Oklahoma State. Brendan Sorsby, 270 yards, 3 touchdowns, electric through the air. Once again, he does a great job in the first half. They build that rhythm on offense. 4 straight touchdowns to open the game. 3 in the first half for Cyrus Allen, including what I believe is maybe his first career rushing touchdown. Definitely his first rushing touchdown, I think, at Cincinnati, and showed the just diverse attack that this Cincinnati Bearcats offense can bring to the table. They sputtered out a little bit in the third quarter, no points there, but an explosion in the fourth, 21 points, highlighted by a couple of huge turnovers by the Bearcats defense. Their first, I believe, first 2 turnover game of the year and first interception of the year in emphatic style, my man. I mean, Matthew McDoom. I think I talked to you about this maybe off air this week. I went up to Matt. I was like, hey, "You guys are due for a pick this week. You're due." He was like, "I hope." He was like, "You said it. I'm ready to see it." And of course, McDoom is the one to pull off that play and really put a stamp on the big win and one of the most monumental wins of the Satterfield era to get them bowl eligible.
Yeah, before we discuss the win, Russ, I think it was pretty cool in Coach Satterfield's post-game press conference. He even stated, he said, right when McDoom caught that interception, he said the other coaches on the headset were like, "Hey, he's going to take this thing back." So it was cool to kind of hear
Right
that.
when he hit the like 15, I was like, oh man, if there's a
He,
gap, like we
he
we we're in the facility. We see what those times are looking like on in terms of the
I think
fastest
he was
players in the
close to
building.
23-1 or something, if I
Yeah.
remember right from what I was told this offseason. But
Yeah.
man,
So if
Russ,
you give
right?
him any space, it's night night.
And it's the best thing is you see him hit the 15 and you look out who's ahead of him. You have Simeon Coleman out in front of him. You have somebody else. And I'm sorry, but if you have Simeon Coleman out in front of you on a block on a pick six, just get out the way. We've seen what he's able to do if he has to lay a hit. Get out the way. So when you see Matthew McDoom taking off the sideline, that was cool to hear, cool to see. 100 yards, longest interception in program history. It was really cool too, Russ, when we see the videos come out post game. Matthew McDoom was so excited to see that first one finally come down for the defense, but most importantly, in his hands, he takes it back for a touchdown. And then
And
in the
just seems
locker
like a
room,
really great guy too. Like Matthew
you see in
McDoom,
the
from
locker
all
room,
all
like,
we've talked to, all the times we talked to him, seems just like a really genuine great dude. So happy
and
for
you
him on
see it
that
in the
front.
locker room too. Like Coach Satterfield was like, longest interception return in program history. It was like, McDoom, give me a speech, and he went up and gave Coach Satterfield like it was like a heartfelt moment for probably what 5-10 seconds there. He was interacting with Coach Satterfield, and he was like, it finally happened. He goes, there's a lot more ready to come. So that was a great sight to see. The defense gets two turnaways, but Russ, we got to talk about him. Antoine Peak Jr. continues to be that defensive playmaker for this defense. When the team needs a stop, I swear it is always Antoine Peak somewhere in the facility. He gets the big forced fumble there. He gets a big stop on 4th and 1. He's just making plays for Cincinnati, so that's a good stop, good thing to
Yeah,
see on the
and that
defensive
note on
end.
fourth down, Neil, I need to. I should start looping some of these fourth downs into being turnovers because that's what they serve as. And Cincinnati has faced, as Scott Satterfield said in his press conference earlier last week, the most fourth downs of any team in the Big 12 and top 10, I believe, in the nation. And they're only allowing a right around like a 50% hit rate on those downs, which is pretty impressive because obviously a lot of those fourth downs are going to be coming in more short yardage scenarios.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's cool to see them get the stops there, but on top of it, Russ, before maybe the fourth quarter, this game was kind of you had that eerie feeling after Cincinnati started hot. They go 4 for 4 in the first half, 4 touchdowns. Cyrus Allen with 3 of them. And Russ, you and I have got to know Cyrus Allen on a pretty good note, and his confidence levels through the roof. So to see him go out there and get not one but two but three in the first half was pretty cool to see. And he even joked about it after the game. He was like, "Man, I was kind of salty. I only had the one catch versus UCF, so I was kind of talking to Brendan this week, like, hey, you gotta feed me a little bit there." So overall, cool to see that. But Joe Royer also had his best game of the season, I thought. He had the big touchdown, which it was about time he was gonna get in there. I know I was speaking to a source within the program heading into UCF after Joe got hawked down for the 67-yard versus Iowa State. Russ, I don't know if you knew this, but they clocked Joe at near 25. It was about 20.5 miles per hour on that
Moving at his
67-yard
size.
run, and that's probably the top speeds among tight ends in all of college football there. So Joe was moving. It was great to see him get in the end zone. He now Russ, we both know he should have had two, but the one you get stopped short. But overall, great to see the offense clicking. I didn't like what we saw to start the third quarter. There in the second half, you had the opportunity to go get the 2 for 1 and put this thing out of harm's way early, but offense kind of sputtered to start
Yeah,
the
and
second
and the
half.
fact that they put, I didn't understand prior on that fourth down being the
Hmm.
back. I think that like that's kind of I thought why you bring in Tawee Walkers to be able to get plays done like that, but obviously it didn't matter in the grand scheme of the game. They ended up covering again, which Cincinnati, note for everybody, 5-1 on the FanDuel Sportsbook this season against the spread. That's one of the three best numbers in the entire nation. The Ohio State, the only team in the country undefeated against the spread right now. So Cincinnati not only winning right now in this 5-game win streak, but doing it by margin and doing it pretty comfortably in most weeks.
Yeah, and Russ, before we make the next transition to the next segment here, let's talk about Brendan Sorsby a little bit, right? You look at the stats from the Nebraska game, 13 for 25 for just 69 yards and his only interception on the season. Since then, Russ, he has thrown 17 touchdowns through the air, rushing for 4 touchdowns, So Brendan Sorsby, I mean, since then, like we have heard that he has taken the next step, and we've heard it in his post-game press conference. Yes, this team is bowl eligible, but Russ, to hear them re-emphasize that just making a bowl game isn't the goal, right? They have said it all season
Get
long. The
greedy,
goal,
like Cyrus Allen said. I love that when he was saying that last night.
yeah, and it was cool to hear Brendan say like, "Hey, this group, like, we're going to celebrate being bowl eligible, but we have to find a way to continue and stack these good days." But and he said, quote unquote, "We're not satisfied though. We have a lot. We have to be at our best 1 week at a time because at the end of our day, our goal is to be in Dallas playing for a Big 12 championship." And Russ, you look right now, Cincinnati's in firm position if things continue to go well for them to be in position to be in Dallas in early December because that November 15th matchup just got a little bit more exciting for Cincinnati with BYU. So, Russ, I'm excited, man. I'm excited. This is going to be another fun, month and a half left of college football. And if all things go well, this could be a very fun time for Scott Satterfield and this Bearcats team to go out there and prove to the Big 12 that they're now here to stay.
No doubt about it, Neil. No doubt about it. As Cincinnati holds the third best odds right now, percentage wise, to win the Big 12. And that is according to ESPN's Football Power Index. Still a big gap between them and BYU and Texas Tech. BYU at 32.4%, Texas Tech at 39.2% still with a 6-1 record in the conference and a very clear path if they shape up their offense a little bit to get back on track and win out the rest of the way with their schedule. And then Cincinnati, obviously, taking on BYU, Neil, at home in a few weeks, I think right around a month from now, an absolutely massive game. Just an absolutely massive game. Could very well be a pseudo playoff game in college football. It could be a game to get you into the Big 12 championship game, which if you get there, you have a playoff opportunity to get into the college football playoff with an automatic bid. So a lot left to play for Cincinnati. We'll get to that probably maybe Thursday's show later in the week. We'll kind of talk about what the path would be for Cincinnati to get to the Big 12 championship game, what they have to do and what it looks like for everybody else. But as of right now, Neil, in firm, strong position, as you noted, and sitting at an undefeated record in the conference, 4-0, trying to get to 4-0 in the next week or so for Cincinnati. Just really, really strong on the campaign. 4-0 right now, trying to get to 5-0 against Baylor this coming Saturday, 4 p.m. against Baylor, 4.5-point favorites. And as we mentioned, Neil, Cincinnati climbing up the Big 12 standings. We mentioned Brendan Sorsby as well, 89 ESPN QBR, bumps it right back up, responds right back from the shaky passing performance against UCF, absolutely dices up Oklahoma State, who was one of the worst defenses in the country. If not, I mean, Neil, you can make an argument with the injury issues they had in the secondary for this game as well, that this was the worst FBS secondary that any quarterback could have faced on Saturday. They came into the game ranked 135th in passing EPA. Just that's for context, people who don't know, there's 136 FBS teams, so that's second worst in the entire country. And when you frame it like that, this is what you should expect from Brendan Sorsby. But still, this is very, very good. He once again, not only, Neil, put up the numbers, but I didn't see any turnover-worthy plays at all again against UC. Like he had 0 against UCF. I would be pretty stunned if he gets any log by Pro Football Focus out of this game. He's going to continue climbing up the ranks and get closer to dropping his turnover-worthy play rate to under 1%, and just really, really great job once again by Cincinnati. They win the turnover battle 2-0 here. And Neil, if that can start breaking their way, that's the way to really start cutting out some of these long drives by these offenses. And that was the biggest issue against Oklahoma State. They ran the ball up and down Cincinnati's throat in this game. 163 yards from Rodney Fields Jr., the freshman running back, 21 carries and a touchdown for him. You had Sam Jackson, the fifth, 11 of 19 passing. They didn't force him to throw the ball enough, in my opinion, and they let the rushing attack dictate from Oklahoma State far too much, with 48 carries to just 19 passes, 228 yards on the ground, and 2 touchdowns for Oklahoma State. So that's got to get cleaned up, Neil. They cannot let offenses dictate time of possession, I think, with the quarterbacks they're going to be facing down the stretch here. But overall, I think this was a very, very good game in wrapping it together here. And when you factor in the turnovers finally breaking through, maybe that's starting to regress to the mean positively for Cincinnati. We'll see if that plays out down the stretch here. But for that to keep progressing to mean positively for Cincinnati, Neil, the trenches have to get better on defense. And that starts with defending the run and also getting after the quarterback. Didn't do that very well once again here. And as we've talked about, I think during the game a little bit with people last night, bottom 15 nationally, bottom 20 nationally in overall havoc rate this year and overall ability to turn up the pressure rate on quarterbacks. They've gotten after the quarterback with sacks a decent amount, but just in terms of overall down pressure rate, in terms of the amount of passes they faced, it's got to be better, and they cannot let these offenses that they're going to face down the stretch dictate as much as these much poorer offenses with much worse quarterbacks have and the recent winks or quarterbacks, Neil, who most importantly cannot execute in the red zone.
Yeah, absolutely, Russ. And I mean, we talk about the defense too. I mean, the most rushing yards Cincinnati gave up on the season was last week versus UCF, 190. They give up 228 on Saturday night to a quote unquote piss poor Oklahoma State team who has struggled this year, right? So you look down and you see that kind of number. I mean, Rodney
They're really
Fields,
bad at rushing the ball too. This is the best thing they do on offense, Neil, but they were still 125th in rushing EPA this season.
Hey, if Rodney Fields continues to have a performance like he had last night, Russ, he could be hitting the transfer portal, and who knows what happens with the future of Oklahoma State at looms. But you hate to see that kind of number, and you mentioned it too. We talked about it with a couple other people. The defensive line just wasn't getting pressures last night. No sacks. You had a couple tackles for loss, 3 tackles for loss, but in a game like
they
this,
end up taking that one sack away? Yeah, they did. They took that one away because they counted it on the broadcast to start, but yeah, they ended up counted as a rush for Jackson.
You would like to see them get a little bit more pressure up front. They did not win the battle of the trenches last night, and I know there was a lot of questions about maybe if Dante Corleone was on a snap count or if he's still fully healthy. I know he's still kind of battling back from that early injury, trying to find some ways back out there. But we asked Coach Satterfield about it. We didn't really get much of a definite answer. He kind of beat around the bush on it, but a lot of rotation there, which, I mean, you'd like to see that. You'd like to see those guys get some run and stay fresh, but it's kind of weary and questionable about, hey, what could Dante Corleone's snap count maybe look like heading into Oklahoma or to Baylor next week? Obviously, you'll probably see him out there a little bit more, but don't think he was really out there as much as he anticipated. But Jalen Hunt stepped up. I thought he had another good game. He's continued to be a big part, but for Cincinnati, they got to find a way to get pressure. It's not like they're not getting opportunities. They're just failing to wrap up in the backfield. They're failing to convert, and it's leading to these plays getting extended, and it's coming back to hurt them. So for Cincinnati moving forward to Baylor, you would like to see them kind of win that battle of the trenches and get you a little bit of pressure there between the guys like Micah Coleman, Jalen Hunt, Dante Corleone, Marquez Parker, whoever it might be out there. You'd like to see them find some ways to get to the quarterback and create some pressure. Because if you look at it, last night when they got pressure to Sam Jackson, look what happened. The 100-yard interception. So they got to find a way to get some pressure, especially heading into Oklahoma State or heading into Baylor.
Right. Sawyer Robertson, that offense, it's a much different ball game and a much different ball game down the stretch with these offenses that they're going to face. Note on Dante Corleone, lowest snap count, 23 snaps in this game since the Bowling Green contest where he got hurt. So good note there by Neil to drop that in before we move on from this contest. And yeah, Neil, he played bad again. He played bad in this game, and he has not played really great all season. And that's been kind of the biggest fulcrum point reason why the defensive line has struggled as much as it has. Because we talked about this all offseason, Neil. We talked about this all offseason, how there wasn't really that closer. There wasn't really that guy that you knew was going to step in and be like, all right, this is the go-to defensive end or go-to edge rusher option. And we thought it might be Micah Coleman. He's been up and down, obviously coming off the injury. You can't expect a whole lot from him in his first season. Jalen Hunt has played much better in the last few weeks. 7th best defensive PFF grade from Cincinnati in this game, 65.2 overall in his 35 snaps. But yeah, Dante Corleone just not having his best season so far, 67.9 PFF grade. Actually, that is his worst career season, worst career grade for a full season so far at Cincinnati. So since the Bearcats still 6-1 overall, despite Dante Corleone not necessarily having the individual season he would probably like so far. But obviously, Neil, been dealing with injury, maybe dealing with a ding up. Who knows what's going on right now in terms of why he was not out there very often for just 23 snaps against the Oklahoma State Cowboys. We'll see how that develops against Baylor this coming weekend. And overall, Neil, Defensively, Matthew McDoom, top performance of the game, I would say 89.9 coverage grade from Pro Football Focus, the only 71 plus grade on the defense at 82.1 overall. And then noted by you, Antoine Peak Jr., with that fourth down stop and his just ability to tackle in the open field. So strong. 70.9 overall defensive grade. He was second on the defense for Pro Football Focus. And once again, Brendan Sorsby going to be right near the top, if not maintaining his position as the number one graded quarterback in the Big 12, maybe jumping up to the number one graded quarterback position in the country once again, like he was a couple of weeks ago at 92.1 overall individually in this game. He was just so lights out through the air. And Neil kind of wrapping it up there as he was flanked by Jeff Caldwell at 78.5. Xavier Lozowicki got some snaps at 78.3. Taryn Tayo had his best game in a few weeks at 78.3 overall. 9 Bearcats at 70.4 overall or higher on offense. So that's really, really good to see. Led by Brendan Sorsby, leading by example with his play, leading by example with his words in the media, and Neil leading by example with just his ability right now to know what to do in this offense, thread the needle when it's needed, not put the ball in harm's way, and encapsulated by that 3rd and 15, 3rd and 16 to Jeff Caldwell down the seam, an absolute beauty ball to him, which leads to a touchdown a few plays later. It's stuff like that that is going to be the difference down the stretch in these games with, like we mentioned, point totals sitting at 66.5 and numbers like that. And when you look at just these offensives that they have to face overall for Cincinnati in the final few games of the season, it's a lot different than what they faced in the first half of conference play. When you look at Baylor sitting at 26 nationally in scoring, TCU at 33rd, BYU at 20th, some of the toughest offenses they have to face down the stretch here. So good to see the offense continuing to win by margin and continuing to show that they're one of the most efficient crews in the country. Just have to do it, I would say, more often across a full game, but Neil, I think they're going to get more turnover action like this more often down the stretch of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And if they continue to do that too, Russ, if they're able to find ways to stack these turnovers, it's going to be a fun time. It really is. So now that you got the monkey off your back and you got the first interception, like Matthew McDoom stated post game, hopefully more will.
And they got a good break on the fumble too, because that was kind of give 50-50. It could have been a fumble recovery for Oklahoma State. They could have given that, but
that was a weird play in general too, because it was like the snap never got 6 inches higher off the ground, but
they were having issues all night.
When you look at that play, Kamari Burns is a big man, so to see him back there right away, but props to that was a veteran play at its finest by Logan Wilson. I mean, we have talked about some of the plays he's made on special teams. That is a play of a guy who's been in college for 6 years, right? Because he saw the ball just kind of laying there and he just picked it up and ran with it. So overall, that was a turning point as well. So veteran play, but Russ, if Cincinnati can find a way to get these 1 to 2 turnovers a game outside of the fourth down stops, this team's going to be hard to stop come the month of October and November. So it's going to be fun moving forward.
Right. I think Cincinnati, I'll have the numbers. We'll talk about it later in the week, but they're one of the lowest turnover teams in the country, if not among the 25 to 30 lowest. And they were actually facing one of the lowest turnover teams on defense in the country. They were facing one of the lowest turnover giveaway teams in the country in Oklahoma State. Only 5 turnovers on the season for the Cowboys, and they had 2 last night given to the Bearcats. The Bearcats basketball team took some blood away from the Michigan Wolverines in terms of turnovers, in terms of points, in terms of a home exhibition win stolen from Michigan. UC really didn't even really steal it. They controlled the game for much of the contest with a 198 victory over the I think actually top 25 ranked in the preseason AP poll, Michigan Wolverines. We'll talk about that after this quick break to close out the show right here on Bearcat Blitz, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook, where you can bet on the Bearcats football team to win the Big 12 Conference this season, plus 650 right now, still holding firm at 4th best odds in the conference on FanDuel Sportsbook to win the title. Minus 105 for Texas Tech, plus 470 for Arizona State, and plus 600 for BYU. A huge contest between Cincinnati and the Cougars in just about a month's time. Number 15 nationally, BYU coming to Cincinnati on November 22nd, favored by a 56.5% matchup predictor margin on ESPN right now. So a kind of pseudo conference championship playing game could be if those teams keep winning and keep holding firm on these odds on the FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook. Go there now to make your wager on the Bearcats if you think they can win the Big 12 championship this season. Quick break, then back to close out the show after this. Bearcat Blitz, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. We are on the Believe Network. I'm your host, Russ Eltman. He's my co-host, Neil Meyer. And Neil, 198 victory for Cincinnati basketball over Michigan in an exhibition on Friday night. A diverse set of scoring from the Bearcats. Had Baba Miller foul out. There were like so many fouls in this game. 33 fouls by the Bearcats. And there were 70 total fouls by these teams in this game. An exhibition for the referees as well, it seems. As Mustafa Cham led the way with 15 points. Kirk Kriisa had 15 points. Shauna Bayev wowed with some just stellar kind of just and one mixtape moment shots. 3 of 6 from downtown, 4 of 8 from the field. Had a nasty slam in the open court. He looks like he could be a super freshman phenom and a guy that could be the star elixir for Cincinnati on offense this season. We will see about that, obviously, very early. Day Thomas came back and played well as the returning veteran for Cincinnati, 12 points. And then Sincere Harris had 13 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 steals, looking like one of the premier on-ball defenders in the Big 12. Neil, very, very good start for Cincinnati. And obviously, defensively, you don't want to give up 31 points to Yaxel Lindenberg. But you know what? It's October. It's almost November. We're about to be seeing the leaves fall. And what's it? A fall season or a crisp air, a crisp feeling in the air without Cincinnati basketball giving up 30 plus to the best player on the other team? Because we've seen that happen pretty often. But this time, the offensive mixture was good enough to overcome that in an exhibition. And Neil, was there like no mid-range in this game? Did I see no mid-range? Is that what my eyes saw?
Yeah.
I'm rubbing my hands right now. Rubbing my hands. We might be watching very, very astute basketball this coming season. Obviously, very early returns.
Yeah, and the biggest thing to take away too, Russ, obviously you mentioned 31 to Axel Lindenberg, 12 rebounds for the big guy, but hey, he's arguably one of the best players in the country. You knew he was going to get his.
I think he's number 1 on Evan Maya's ranking. I'll find it right now, but yeah, he's a stud.
Yeah, he might be one of the best players that Cincinnati faces, and that's saying a lot. Knowing the Big 12, you have AJ DeBansta, Darren Patterson, the list goes on and on. But Yaxel Lindenberg will be in that conversation for one of the best players that Cincinnati faces this season. But
second best behind Braden Smith. Sorry about that. Yeah, Braden Smith wildly high above Yaxel Lindenberg actually, but Lindenberg right there at number 2.
Yeah, but Russ, you look down for Cincinnati, 6 guys in double figures. I don't think we had a time last season in Big 12 play where we had more than 3 guys in double figures. So to see 6.
And not relying on assists for all of it, too. Guys that can create their own shot off the dribble. But we saw that in that game.
Yeah, and that was the biggest thing, too. And I mean, you see 6 guys. Sean Abayev is as advertised, Russ. I mean, you and I, we followed his recruitment, but Russ, Cincinnati has been missing a guy with the killer instinct who can just say, hey, give me the ball, let me go to work, and let me get us a bucket. And I mean, it's as advertised. I mean, you look down, Russ, he hit that step back 3 over
one in the corner.
Yeah, the one in the corner with a hand in his face. That looked like shots he made at OTE multiple times. So it was going to be questions if he could make those kind of shots in college compared to his high school career, and he showed no doubt that he's able to make those big time plays. And Russ, it's easy to say if he is able to continue that kind of play, he might be Cincinnati's first round draft pick since Lance Stevenson. So overall, Sean Abayev has continued to prove why he was one of the best players in the country. But the biggest thing to take away from this too, Russ, is Sincere Harris. 5 steals. I think fans are starting to see that he is one of the best defenders in all of college basketball, and that's why they brought him here to Cincinnati. And I mean, he kind of tweeted about it. He was like 5 steals. I like that. But overall, you look down, Baba Miller, 11 points, 6 rebounds. He fouls out. The thing I would like to see a little bit more, Mustafa Cham had 15 points, only 2 rebounds. I would like to see that rebound number a
And I
little
think they
bit
got
higher.
out rebounded in the game, didn't they?
Yeah, they did get out rebounded 33 to 29. So
Yeah.
overall, it was that would be the number I would like to see a little bit more. But for the first week, first exhibition versus the preseason number ranked 7 team in the country, you go and put up 100 without Jalen Haynes, Jalen Celestine, Lucas Atari. It's pretty exciting to see if you ask me.
No doubt about it, Neil. Are we gonna? I mean, it's obviously early and all that good stuff, but I've always believed in Wes Miller. I have, just in the concept of what he does, in his just actions and what he believes in as a basketball coach fundamentally. And obviously, the exit of Jizzle James is not what you want to see, the way that it went down and just the way that everything's happening. You wish the best for him personally, just as a human being, first and foremost. When you look at the team, I don't know that it's going to be a real major loss on the court, given obviously people know how I felt about his shot selection last year and just the amount of mid-range jump shots that this team has shot over the past couple of years with him and Day Thomas at the helm. Day Thomas obviously didn't do a lot of that in this game on Friday, and there are no players that really profile to take a lot of juice in that area, take a lot of oxygen away offensively in the mid-range of the court. And if Cincinnati maximizes the math the right way with a group that can gel together, move the ball well, and has a potential killer at the freshman position in Shana Bayev, and that can maybe cap you in the postseason, how far you can go down the line in those huge crunch time moments. But that's way, way far away. You're just trying to get to the NCAA tournament at this point. And that mixture seems to me like something that should be able to get them across the finish line towards that first ultimate goal of making the NCAA tournament. We're very early. We'll see how this goes. Obviously, last year they beat Ohio State in kind of a similar fashion. And then the doldrums of January hit like they have in the past few years of the Wes Miller era, and things did not work out for an NCAA tournament berth. But another chance to prove it again on Friday, Neil, against Arkansas. If they do the same thing on Friday, they don't need to post 100 points again. I don't expect them to do that in what was a huge, huge foul fest, a big contribution of that. 20 plus made free throws in this game. They're probably not going to have that happen again. But another humming around 80 points and looking really good on offense with really good ball movement and good shot selection and getting to the rim and shooting a lot of threes, which I think they put up how many in this game, Neil? 30 plus? Yeah, 31 threes in this game, 12 of 31, 60 total field goals, 22 of 35 from the line. I just, I love what that shot diet looks like, and I love what the offense looks like in profiles so far. And obviously, the shortest and earliest return you can have in a college basketball season with these really fun and cool exhibitions that they're opening up now.
Yeah, too. And Russ, it's worth noting too, before heading into this exhibition for Arkansas, Wes Miller will be speaking with some reporters alongside Day Thomas, Kirk Carissa,
Right.
Mustafa Sam out at media days this week. So
Is that
very
Tuesday or
excited.
Wednesday is West going?
The men's are Wednesday, the women's are
There you
Tuesday.
go.
So we'll hear from Katrina Merriweather, Reagan Jackson, Maya Perry, and Destiny Thomas on Tuesday on the women's side, and then we'll hear from those guys on Wednesday for the men's side. So overall, very excited to see. We should have an update potentially on Jalen Haynes, probably at media days if I had to imagine, but that's going to be interesting. So overall, I like what we saw versus Michigan. But Russ, now you have another big opportunity here heading into John Calipari and this Arkansas squad, so who's another top 15 team. So it's
Right.
going to be interesting, but it just proves that these exhibition games, no matter what the outcome is, you never know what might happen come January. So I mean, you look, Cincinnati gets a big win in an exhibition versus a top 10 team, but meanwhile Xavier loses to a Missouri Valley Conference school in an exhibition game. So
I think
who
they shot
knows?
like 38% too. So it's better than the alternative, Neil. It's better than the alternative for Bearcats fans. It might not count, it might not matter in the end, but you know what? For this weekend, it was a great weekend for Cincinnati Bearcats fans, to say the least.
It sure is.
No doubt about it. For Neil Meyer, I'm Russ Eltman. This has been Bearcat Blitz on the Believe Network. We are presented by FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook. Make them your choice for your wagers this week and beyond, as Cincinnati prepares for the Baylor Bears on Saturday, and Cincinnati Bearcats basketball prepares for another exhibition on the road against Arkansas this coming Friday. We will be with you to cover it all right here on Bearcat Blitz.